His ghost story.
Well, I only have one. And I mean, I've only been here for 2 years. Okay? And I will admit, I was a little bit skeptical. Like, okay, maybe yes, maybe no. These people kept saying, oh, don't you hear that? Don't you hear that? It's like, no, I don't hear anything. Okay, however, last Valentine's Day, I came in the kitchen door there, first thing in the morning, early in the morning. I had to turn off the alarm, so I knew I was the only one in the room because the alarm was on. Okay, I walked through the dining room, down the gallery, all the way down to the theater, and I heard Karl and his wife talking in here, which was unusual because they come in frequently and check the building first thing in the morning after the event. So I walked all the way around. There was nobody here. I looked outside, there were no cars here. They had not been here. I walked through the building. Hello? Hello? Anybody here? Anybody here? There was nobody here. But I know what I heard. I heard two people talking clear as day. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay?
The part that he's leaving out of it is she was talking and I was going,
Yeah, that's kind of true. That's kind of nice here. Okay, so I'm going to let Karl kind of give you some history about the building here and what it's been used for and what's happening now, and then we will go clear things out in there and then be ready to let you all chat with the spirits for sure.
Okay, evening everybody. As he said, my name's Karl. Some of you know me, some of you have been here for the paranormal groups before. But what we want to kind of give those that are first-time visitors a little history of the building. Dodge City became a city in 1872. This building was constructed in 1879. So it's one of the oldest buildings in its original location. The reason I say it that way is to serve alcohol, you had to be 7 miles away from the fort. So they started at the fort, they tied a rag on the wagon wheel, and they started counting the revolutions. When they got the proper revolutions, they set their tents up with the alcohol and the gambling and all the other stories you've heard in the Old West. If you go out on Highway 50, you'll see the Gunsmoke Campground up on the hill. That's about the location of the original Dodge City. Dodge City became indebted to a New Jersey banker. He owned the land, he didn't own the buildings. So they hooked onto the buildings and drug them to the current location of Dodge City. This happened a whole bunch in the Old West, as I found out. This is pretty much the location that there's always been a depot here since they established a depot in Dodge City. Original depot was nothing more than 2 boxcars that they set over on the siding, and that's what they operated out of. As they progressed further west, they actually built a wooden structure that was out, between the railroad tracks. Fred Harvey, and some of you have heard the story of Fred Harvey and the Harvey girls. Fred Harvey was a purchasing agent for Santa Fe, so through that, he had to travel on the train to all of these different locations to see what supplies they needed. Okay, we need wood because we got to build a trestle over here, we've got to build a bridge over here, we've got to do this. He would go back to Topeka and get the product and then have it shipped out on the train. When a train would come in to Dodge City, as they hit the edge of town, they would start blowing the whistle. The pattern that they blew the whistle told the workmen here at the station whether they needed fuel, whether they needed water, whether they had freight to unload. Here at the station, they would run a set of flags out. If you can imagine the old sailing ships, they would run a set of flags out, and that would tell the incoming train that they had freight to pick up, that they had passengers, whatever the case may be. They only stopped the train for as long as it took to accomplish those tasks. So when you got off here, if you were hungry, you had to find somebody that had a cook shack, or if a truck wagon happened to be in town, and get food. So they tell horror stories in those days that when you got off the train, you may get undercooked food, you may get overcooked food, whatever they had. You may not find anybody that would serve you food. So The other story they tell is Cookie would sit there and go, if you didn't finish your plate, because when they honked the horn that they were leaving town, you might be stuck here 2 hours, you might be stuck here 2 days. So he just slide the plate off to the side. When the next person come in and sat down, they just slide what you didn't finish in front of somebody else. Fred lived through all that. Regardless what you see on Gunsmoke and some of the other westerns, they did not run the trains at night. The reason being, if they hit a herd of buffalo or if a track failed, it would derail the train, and the lighting just wasn't good enough to see it to stop at the time. So they would bed the trains down here at night. Well, if you happened to be a traveler, you had a choice of sleeping on the train or finding somebody that would rent you a room or a room in the boarding house. So you never knew what quality you were going to get, whether it was available. So Fred went back to the board of Santa Fe and said, we know the timetable, we know the schedule. If we have quality lodging and quality food, we can capitalize on tourism, we can capitalize on the western expansion. And that's where this building comes from. This building is the first purposely built Fred Harvey Hotel Restaurant train station. If you go further east of here, you'll find Fred Harvey Hotel, you'll find old Fred Harvey Restaurant. They were either buildings that he could buy and renovate, or businesses that had gone out of business that he could take over. So that's where Fred Harvey got his start. Now in the Old West, they were very few women. And women, remember 1700s, 1800s, didn't work outside the house the way they do today. So this was staffed and run by men. The problem with that was on Friday and Saturday night, they like to go out and have their adult protein drink, and then they didn't show up for work. So Fred struck upon the idea that he would go back east, he would hire women of good reputation and good upbringing to run his facilities. And that's where the Harvey girls come from. When a girl signed on to go to work for Fred Harvey, she signed a 2-year contract. For 2-year contract, she had to remain single. She had to live in the dormitory, which is a 2-story building that's just about 25 foot further east of here. And she could not get married, and she could not become with child. If a girl decided that she wanted to leave before her 2-year contract was complete, she had to pay for the next girl to come out and finish her contract. When we look at the history of Dodge City and the Harvey girls, we find that a lot of the arts, the culture, the upbringing that came to Dodge City actually came in with the Harvey girls, so they were quite important to the Old West. We had our soiled doves, they were in another area of town, but this was a quality first-grade operation, and that was Fred's motto, is quality first-grade. And he didn't cater to the cowboys. This was not a hotel that the cowboys would come and stay in. The fact of the matter is, when we look at it with 20th century eyes and we look back, it doesn't seem right. But back in those heydays, if you were Catholic, if you were Irish, if you were Chinese, if you were Hispanic, if you were Indian, or you were black, you could not rent a room in this hotel. So he had many black porters and cooks that worked for him in the kitchen area, and he treated his people extremely well. Wages in those days for a girl who was working here was between $12 and $15 a month, which doesn't sound much to us, but those were premium wages when they were working there. The other thing that was unique is a gal could come here, she could work for a few months here. If a spot opened up further down the line, she could move down the line. And many of these gals used this as an opportunity to see this great country of ours. After they had completed their 2-year contract, they could get married. They could live off campus. But when they became with child, they had to resign. But they didn't have to pay for the next girl to come out. When we look at that, at the Harvey girls, we find out that many of them married our doctors, our lawyers, our bankers, our businessmen, the higher class. So, once again, they were important to Dodge City in our history. On the railroad side of this, we kind of became a unique operation. We became the end of the Santa Fe East and the start of the Santa Fe West. That's the reason that this building is as big as it is. If you worked for Santa Fe East, you worked on the east side, ground floor of this building, and you worked on the central time zone. If you worked for Santa Fe West, you worked on the second floor of this building, other than the station master's office, and you worked on the mountain time zone. That's the significance of the two sundials that are right down the platform. If you had been standing between those two sundials prior to 1964, you were on the timeline. In 64, they moved it, and if you know Kansas very well, if you go out 56, it's pretty much the Colorado border. But if you go out Highway 50, when you hit Lake in Kansas, you are now in the mountain time zone. So that timeline does one of these things. What am I forgetting, Cindy?
Building the parking houses and stations out in Grand Canyon, the
And I
parks,
ain't
the
hacked
national
out
parks.
my years in the fire service, so.
The national parks, Teddy
Oh,
Roosevelt.
yes indeed. I missed it. Everybody knows, or some of you know about Teddy Roosevelt, who was a president. Well, Teddy had a split presidency. He was president, then he wasn't president, then he came back. In the time between his split presidency, he had his own rail car and traveled on the railroad. And went all over the United States and all over the world. Through his travels on the train, he began rubbing elbows with Fred Harvey and the way Fred Harvey ran his operations. When Teddy Roosevelt signed the first National Parks Act, he went to Fred and said, I want you to run my facilities. And so if you go to the Grand Canyon, you go to Yellowstone, you go to Yosemite, those are still Harvey-run operations to this day. So he did it right. This man was picky. When he came to town, the first thing he did was ask for a cup of coffee. And they would make coffee. And if the coffee didn't taste right, they would adjust the mixture until they got it to his satisfaction. If they couldn't get the coffee to his satisfaction, because you go certain areas east of here and you have sulfury water, they would actually truck the water in on the train. So this facility, that's how picky he was. If you were formally retired, you ate in a formal El Vaquero dining room. If you were not formally retired, you ate at the lunch counter. This is the last remaining piece of the lunch counter. It's actually located, would have been down in the east end of the building. During the renovation process, we actually were able to salvage this much and bring it out. 90% of the wood that you see in the building is original. We are on the historic register, we're on the Kansas register, which makes life really interesting when you try and do repairs around this place. I've been taking care of this place since the first of 2005, so yes, there's not too many places you won't find my fingerprints. I thought I'd get a laugh out of that one. Thank you. Thank you very much. In 1903, lightning struck the roof on the west end of this building. When you look at the train station area, which is just through those doors, that area was a single-story building. When they were finished putting the fire out and everything else, Fred Harvey said, I need more hotel rooms. So when you're upstairs, you're going to see a door that's right at the top of the stairs. Basically, that's right at the end of the original building. They added that entire second story on and 25 foot to that end. They also expanded the dining room. When you go into the dining room, you're going to see some pillars that are right there. That was the end of the original dining room. They increased the size of the dining room. We were actually a stopover for the troop trains for the Spanish-American War, World War I, and even part of World War II. So many of the soldiers that were going overseas have spent the night here or across the street over at the Lorelei. A lot of famous characters have come through this building. If the walls could talk, I'm sure there's some stories they could tell. In here, during the 1903 renovation, they added electric lights. All of the brass that you see hanging on the ceiling is original to that renovation. We salvaged enough steel out of 3 rooms to put this ceiling back, original steel ceiling. So all of the glass is reproduced. Had it not been for the Depot Theater Company, we'd all be standing in a parking lot right now. This building was actually slated to be demolished. We had a written policy at the fire department that if we saw fire on the 2nd floor, we were not sending people inside. That's how bad it was deteriorating. We had vagrants, we had animals, and it was a mess. So as you walk through the building, with a combination of historical grants, arts and leisure grants, transportation grants, and local donations, we were able to restore the building to what you see today. The West End, we just finished a remodel on. We now host the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the Chamber of Commerce, and Ford County Development are all in these offices that are right above us. Yes. Oh, the floor that we're standing on, that's original postage stamp tile floor. Where we go to Lowe's and we buy new stuff now, it comes on a grid. Each of those is an individually little taste tile. So somebody sat there hour after hour after hour laying that stuff out. You could pay somebody to do that today. I know I'm missing some things and I apologize for that. Basically, I'm to kind of entertain you guys while they finish setting up the rest of the equipment. So, I know I'm missing some things. The picture over the counter, or over the, is somewhere around 1937 to 1939. That was the heyday of the Fred Harvey operation, and we had to pick an era to restore back to. This is our guide that we use. The couch and the chair that you sit over here, we cannot document to this building. They're periodically correct, but they actually came to us from Newton. But when Santa Fe cleared out this, because they didn't use it anymore, a lot of that stuff got dispersed to smaller and some of it is migrated back. When you are upstairs, the second door on the north side you'll see is different than every other door. We restored one of the Fred Harvey hotel rooms to its original condition. The furniture and stuff in there is periodically correct, but I can't say the bed is not a reproduction. But the dresser and the chair that are sitting in there, when Santa Fe, basically right after World War II, travel by train fell out of favor. Everybody started taking car trips. This wasn't on a major thoroughfare, so travel fell off. Fred Harvey said it's not possible to run anymore, and they closed it up. They figured they'd be closed for a couple of years. They packed everything away, so all they had to do was unpack and go right back to business. That never happened. Santa Fe sold off what they could, and the rest of it got thrown in the city dump. This family actually bought that dresser and that chair at that auction for their daughter's dowry. When she passed away a few years ago, she donated them back to us. So I can't say they were in that room, but they did come out of this building during its heyday. That room also has what we call a Jack and Jill bathroom. That's not original to that room. When they did the 1903 renovation, they did this great new concept, and that's called the Jack and Jill bathroom. All of these rooms that are up in here had one common bathroom. It wasn't a men's, wasn't a women's. You had to wait your turn to get into it. Not only that, there was no running water. So if you wanted to take a bath, one of the Harvey girls had to go draw the water, take it up, fill the tub, and then arrange the drain tub when it was done. These gals worked 12-hour shifts. They spent 8 hours here in the depot. They had 4 hours of duty over in the dormitory. So they worked, and they had a very strict dress code. Fact of the matter is, one of the gals that was here a number of years ago said, I got tired of it every day. Check my nails, check my, had to have her nails inspected. They had to be clean, no fingernail polish, but all your fingernails had to be clean, your outfit had to be clean and pressed. I mean, it was upper class. So, I've got a lot of respect for these gals. Yes, sir?
How much did it cost to build the building? How much was the most recent renovation?
I can't answer for what it costs to build. That's a darn good question, and I will try and get an answer. It might take me a little bit to get back to you. The first renovation, when the Depot Theater came through, and we did the main parts of the building, we spent $13.5 million. The last renovation we did, which was building for the CBD and all of that, we spent $125,000 is what comes to mind. When you start doing stuff in a historic building, it gets expensive in a hurry. Because you have, for those renovations, we had to have sign off from the Historical Society, both state and local and federal. We had to have sign off because part of the building is actually facing wider. It's considered part of the Department of Transportation, so we have to have them sign off. It gets real interesting. So let's just say we spent $15 million, not counting the original cost of construction. It wouldn't have been that high had it not been allowed to deteriorate so bad. Is that a good answer? I always joke and say we're in Dodge City where we never let the truth get in the way of a good story. So, and my boss hates it when I say that. I think that's about it. I'm going to turn it over to either Leo or Jason. Who's going to speak for the paranormal group today? This is Leo. He's going to take you through kind of what they experienced tonight. I've had some experiences. I'm not going to share them at this juncture. Some of your guys may share some of them, but I can tell you we have multiple areas where this has happened. Some as simple as the dining room. I was walking through the dining room. I'm the only one in the building. I know I'm the only one in the building. And a gentleman who helped build sets here, I hear his voice plain as day going, "Karl." And I turned around and I'm the only one in this building. So not only has it happened to John, it's happened to me. So some of these have a way of mimicking. We have several hot spots in the building. The guides will tell you about that. They may tell you some of the stories I told them. Once again, y'all are open to believe what you want to believe. Enjoy your evening. Okay.
I'm Leo with Everyday Legacy Paranormal. I'm the executive director of the group. Jason. Stand up, Jason. Stand up, Jason. Oh, he is standing up. He's part of he's executive director of Retro Paranormal. What it is, we're the same group. Everyday Legacy Paranormal got our start in 2007 with we're the investigative side of things. We do the public businesses, we do the public homes, we do everything basically, the investigative side. Road Trip came about in 2011. They're the ghost tour groups of our section. They do all the public events like tonight. They give the speeches, the talks, and stuff like that.
Which side of this tour?
Yeah. So, this is the depot. This place is awesome to us. We've been here, I can't even count how many times we've been here. We started coming in here in 2012, 2011, somewhere around that time. We keep coming back for a reason, because the place lives up to its reputation of being haunted. You heard some of the stuff Karl kind of said, but he didn't give away his stories quite yet. We'll tell you some of the stories, the hot spots along the way tonight. I will say nothing here's going to harm anybody, so you guys will be fine. I know last night we had some younger kids, and their eyes got this big as soon as we started talking when I said it was haunted. And so I made sure they were okay, and things of that nature. But jump in anytime, don't hesitate. Okay. We're a little groggy today. We were here till about 3:30, 4 o'clock last night in the morning with everything, and then turning down the equipment and then putting it back up. So with that being said, you guys are all on camera. So if you guys do anything silly, trip, fall, make sounds out of your body, it's forever recorded in history. So and we will point you out to everybody. So be prepared, and they'll go on our website by the way too. So and you're also, some people ask me if they have equipment. People in the back, you guys feel free to use whatever you want equipment. We have some you can borrow for this evening too to make part of your adventure. We'll explain to you what the equipment does along the way. Just give you an idea what you're working with. Any questions so far at this point, or concerns, or comments? the option. So, what do you guys say, Jason?
No. Tonight is going to be about you guys. So it's going to be about you jumping in, asking the questions, being interactive with everything. It's not going to be just watch us and do everything, because we're going to be looking at you guys to see what you guys can stir up. Because we were here last night, all night long. Things got stirred up here and there. We're going to be up on the second floor. We have the basement, we have the theater, so we're going to be all over the place. Third floor, a little bit, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be breaking everybody into groups. Paula, did you get that count out yet?
As you can see, we have team members for different factions with us. We have the RTP group, we have the ELP group, and we also have Phantoms of the Prairie. They're based out of Dodge City here. They've helped us on many things, public events, private events. They've been with us for a couple of years now, as far as helping individually and then as a group themselves. So, what else?
Let's see here. So, who's all in a group? Yes, sir.
I think they're all over.
I agree with that.
Go ahead.
I was asked earlier about equipment. I believe you have that out when you break them up in groups.
Yeah.